I'm Bob, an alcoholic. One of the steps that was very confusing to me was step 11. One of the problems that people who have an egocentric propensity seem to have from time to time is we know so much at times that we can't learn anything new. And it's what I already know that handicaps me. And so I'm sober a little while, and the truth is none of the steps I really warm up to that much except step 11. When I was new, it was one of the few, my first couple years, one of the few steps that I kind of thought, well, I want to get into that. That's be cool. And the reason is that I had some experience with yoga and meditation and various things growing up. Matter of fact, it was kind of hip, to be in TM or to go to Raja Yoga or to any of that stuff for a couple reasons. One is if you were involved in that, you could go to clubs and bars and say things to people like, do you meditate? And if they said no, such a shame, and walk away. And in a yoga or meditation class, there was a high probability you could buy some really good marijuana and maybe get laid. So I don't have any problem. When you start, I see one of the steps involves meditation. I'm going to do that, not to yoke myself to you and to God and to life, not to become one with, but to become one above, right? And I don't know that my ego is what's shining up to this, that was what likes this. And so because I've become egocentric, even though I'd had this major surrender when I first got sober, the ego kind of came back and I'm egocentric again, but I don't know it. I don't know it. And so I want to do step 11. I go through the book, and I find the section on step 11, which begins at the bottom of page 85, and you can tell this is the section on step 11 because in italics it says step 11. And it says step 11 suggests prayer and meditation. We shouldn't be shy on this matter of prayer. Better men than we are using it constantly. It works if we have the proper attitude and work at it. It would be easy to be vague about this matter, yet we believe we can make some definite and valuable suggestions. I'm ready. I'm buckled in. Hit me with it. And here's what it says. When we retire at night, we constructively review our day. Were we resentful, selfish, dishonest, afraid to owe an apology? I'm reading this and I'm going, whoa, has nothing to do with step 11. That's step 10. Maybe it's a misprint. That should have been back on the previous page. It doesn't make any sense to me. I read further down and I get into a part where it mentions prayers. I found several prayers. I found we ask God to direct our thinking. We ask that our thinking be divorced from self-pity, dishonest, self-seeking motives. We ask God for inspiration. We ask for freedom from self-will. Okay, I see some things that I guess are prayers, but I don't see anything that's what I've learned of meditation. And so I do what smart guys do. Smart guys don't follow directions that they don't agree with, right? So I never started doing the stuff on page 86 and 87 because I'm a smart guy, right? And that doesn't mean that I didn't pursue meditation. I did a whole bunch. I talked to a couple guys earlier. I did the Course in Miracles for almost a year. The only reason I stopped is that several of the people, it was all AA members that were going to it. Several of them got drunk. And of the ones that didn't get drunk, they were backing away. It was almost, and I caught myself, we're in this little spiritual clique, like we were above the poor unfortunate people. I know, you know what I mean? I aggrandized myself with that kind of stuff. And maybe not everybody does, but I did. I had 3 books when I first got sober. I used to read them every day with little meditations in them, day at a time. one day, day by day, and 24-hour book. I used to read those. I did that for a while. I kind of burned it out. I burned stuff out. And then I started doing the prayer of St. Francis from Step 11 in the 12 Steps and 12 Traditions. A great prayer. I still use that to this day. Actually, I use a different version of it because I found another version of it that instead of saying, Lord, make me a channel, it says, make me an instrument of thy peace. And for some reason, I like that version better. Use that. I started a little meditation that I use to this day still. I am the place where God shines through. Him and I are one, not two. I need not worry, fret, or plan, for he wants me where and as I am. And if I could be relaxed and free, he would carry out his plan through me. I use that sometimes to this day. I started exploring churches, started reading a lot of spiritual literature. I started started with 5 minutes and worked my way up to 20, 30 minutes a day with, of silence and just, breathing. I did so many different things. I used to do that passage from the Bible, be still and know that I was God. I would do that one word, be, and breathe in and out, be still. I did that. I used to do one where I would breathe in the grace, the cool, clear, clean grace of God, and breathe out the angst of ego and self. And I just do that for 20 minutes or so. And I did so much stuff. I mean, a lot of stuff. The problem is not what I was doing. The book says, be quick. Be quick. Bottom of page 67, be quick to see. We're religious, spiritual people are right. Make use of what they have to offer in addition to, but I'm doing it in substitution for. See, it would have been, all that stuff's great if I would have been doing what it talks about on these pages, but I wasn't doing it. And I had a guy, I was 20, probably 20 years sober, and a guy, a sponsor who had over 15, probably 15 years, I guess, or close to, he was deep double-digit sobriety, came up to me one day, and he's very serious, and he said to me, I need some direction on I need you to tell me what to do in the morning in meditation. What do I do? Well, the problem is that I've done so many different things by this time, and they're all good. It's just that not one of them is definitive. I don't have the thing, I can do this. And I don't want to tell him 15 things. So I said to him what they teach you in secret sponsor school. In secret sponsor school, they tell you if a sponsee asks you a question and you have no idea what to say, you say one of two things. The first thing you tell them, you say, well, just go pray about it. If your sponsor ever says, just go pray about it, what he's really saying is, I don't got a clue. I have no idea. Or the second thing, and this is what I said to him, I said, well, just go do what it says in the book. And without prejudice, without preconceived notions, he literally started doing what it says in the book. Something that I had never done. Every night, when he retired at night, he would constructively review his day and look for where he'd slipped out of line. Look for the things that you don't catch because you're too busy to catch with step 10. If you ever go to New York City or Hong Kong or any of the cities that are cities of big, tall skyscrapers, you can often see something that occurs when they're doing construction on one of these buildings. They'll be on the right. Let's say they're doing construction on or refacing maybe or re-windowing the 70th, 80th floor. Underneath where they're working, they set up a series of nets. They set nets up. And the reason they do that is because a hammer dropped from the 80th floor is a missile by the time it gets to the ground. Well, they know something. They know that it's possible that stuff can get through the first sets of nets. So on the ground floors, they'll have two sets of scaffolding and a whole bunch of nets there to catch whatever got through the first set of nets. And I think that this is designed to catch whatever I was too busy to look at or just rolled over. And so I look at night, and there's a passage. When I found this passage, it clarified this. Bill, in step 11 in the 12 steps and 12 traditions, talks about why this self-examination is actually a part of step 11. He says in there that self-examination, this first paragraph, meditation and prayer, if taken separately, can bring about much benefit and relief. But I don't need relief. I'm a relief junkie. I need change, and I need freedom from the bondage of self. I don't need relief. And then he goes on to say, even though they taken separately, can bring about much benefit and relief, if they're logically related and interwoven, they form an unshakable foundation for life. That's what I need. That's what I need. This self-examination in actuality is part of a realigning process, both in the big book and in step 11 in the 12 by 12. It says that the proper use of this is to align our will with God's. Well, if you're going to align your will with God's, there's something that's sort of admitted in there, is that you've gotten out of line. The Chamberlain used to say it all the time. If you feel disconnected from God, God didn't move, you did. So it's a realignment. It's a seeking of unity, or back to carrying out the decision that I made in step 3 that I've strayed from in my actions, in my positioning in life, so I can realign myself back to that. And so I go through these questions at night. Well, what happened to the guy, sponsor? He started doing this, and well, no time at all. He seemed to be doing a lot better than I was, and I didn't really like that much. So I remember thinking, it was a funny thought. I remember thinking, it wouldn't hurt me to try that. And I started doing it. And so at night, I looked for the stuff that I rolled over. I looked for the re-manifestation of self. I looked for the things that have to be mended or surrendered. I look for where I'm out of line. There's some great questions in here. Not only am I looking for the same thing I did in step 10, was I resentful, selfish, dishonest, or afraid? Those seem to be the 4 major manifestations of that you're back you're running the universe again. You're back being the actor who wants to run the whole show. You're back in the bondage of self. So not only do I look, have I asked myself, was I today resentful, selfish, dishonest, or afraid? And do I owe an apology? Is there someone that I wouldn't be now, as a result of something I did today, that I wouldn't be comfortable riding 3 hours in a car with alone? Right? Is there have I created some kind of separation with someone? Right? Remember, it's not about right or wrong, it's about separation. And this question, have I kept something to myself which should have been discussed with another person at once? I will always need a sponsor. There's an old adage in AA, we're sick as our secrets. I like the way it talks about it in the beginning of Into Action, where it says, more than most, the alcoholic can live the double life. We create a stage character, a facade that we want our fellows to see, and then inwardly, secretly, we know we're not that guy. I have to have integrity. And integrity comes from a root word meaning one. That I have to be the same guy in the meeting that I was at work, that I am at home with, I have to be the same guy in traffic, in the grocery store. I have to be the same guy. You can't, Chamberlain used to say, you cannot compartmentalize your life. And I've watched people die in Alcoholics Anonymous trying, they want to be real spiritual in AA and get the bragging rights of that, and then they're just horrid. They're cheating on their wife, or they're stealing in business. And we get lost in the abyss that opens up between who we want you to think we are and who we really are. If there's a hell on earth, it must exist in the abyss between those 2 points. that we get lost in. We get lost. And so I got to keep transparent with my sponsor. And this next question, I just tell you, I don't think it's fair. It says, were we kind and loving towards all? All? Hey, listen, there's people that don't deserve kind and loving. For God's sakes, I mean, really. I'm kind and loving to people who deserve it. I'm kind and loving to people that are kind and loving to me. But all, some people just need straightening out. That is actually, I think, the great question there. Because there's many days when I'll ask myself that question and somebody will pop into my mind. Someone who I've judged harshly. Now, I wasn't mean to him. I don't know him in amends. I didn't say nothing. I just avoided them. I just went like this. Just didn't talk to him at all. Gave him a wide berth. Because I had a judgment about something they did that irritated me. Or did you ever been in a meeting and someone shares something and you just think, that's the sickest, stupidest thing I've ever heard. And so you just avoid that person. Well, there you are at night, and was I kind and loving towards all? And there's that person. And what's really going on? See, I missed it. I missed it because I'm asleep in my own life. I missed the opportunity because that wasn't an opportunity to be irritated. That was an opportunity to be helpful, because if I could pull my head out of my butt and get genuine enough with myself to put myself in that guy's place and started asking myself the question, where would I be at if I'd shared that in a meeting? And the veil lifts and you go, oh, I wouldn't be in a very, that guy's asking for help in a weird, convoluted way. That guy needs a friend. I missed it. I missed it because I was too self-centered to be other-centered enough to get him. The ego likes to judge, but it won't judge all the way. It only likes to judge enough to grandize itself and create the separation. The truth is, if I judged properly as God judges, then I would see past all that stuff, and I'd see this is a guy just like me. He's having a bad day. He needs a friend. I'd see the truth, because that's the truth. I've had that happen. You know, I travel a lot, and traveling, for some people, it can, you're outside your comfort zone. There's a lot of people in airports that get very angst up and uptight. Especially if your flight's canceled or if it's late, because they start panicking. And I've been in airports on many occasions where I'm watching, a flight's been canceled, and they got to reschedule all of us and put us in the next flight, and there's people flipping out. And the poor ticket agent standing there, they didn't cancel the flight. They don't have anything to do with any of that. And yet people are yelling at them and giving them a hard time because they're afraid. And one time I was in line behind, and this guy he was just awful with this poor ticket agent. And I know what's going on with him. He's scared. He's got a panic inside because he's afraid he's going to miss his connecting flight. And he doesn't know what to do, and he feels he's outside of his comfort zone. This is an area, he has no control here. And it's frightening to him. And he's taking it out on the poor ticket agent. And she finally gets him gone, and I'm up there, and I just looked at her. I said, you know something, I was really impressed how you handled that. And she still looked a little angst because she had just been attacked. And I said, some people, when they travel and things don't go the way they hope they would go, they get afraid, and you know how we all are. You scare us enough, we can act badly. And she looked at me. And she went, yeah. She knew that. She'd been at that ticket thing for years. She forgot under attack. And she said, yeah, you're right. Yeah, I forgot. I forget that sometimes. And she smiled at me and put me on the next flight in first class, which was kind of nice. Hey, True story, but I was not maneuvering for that. It was just it was a yeah. See, some of you in here you heard that and you're already figuring how maybe you can maneuver to get something. Who could I be nice to? Doesn't work that way. So was I kind and loving towards all? What could I have done better? Was I thinking, I don't know if they're serious. This is a funny question when you consider who's trying to answer it. Was I thinking of myself most of the time? Oh, no. Not at all. You know, the funny thing is, I always have this chronic propensity for self-involvement, I suppose, and it seems so far. And yet, in this natural inclination to self-involvement and self-focus and self-concern, I spend a lot of my life in other-centered positions. Some mornings, the phone doesn't, I get up because the phone rings, and it's some sponsee. And before I even start my meditation or turn the teapot on, I'm talking to a guy that has a problem. And that's a great way to start the day. You start it in other-centeredness. And then I'll start my meditation and I'll be into it for a while and the phone will ring again and there's some other guy. And I'll finally get through the meditation and I have texts and emails from guys that are and I start going through that stuff. And then about the time I got it all behind me and I could really spend some quality time thinking about me, I'll realize that I have a commitment and I got to go to the rehab or I got to meet some guy at the noon meeting. And so I'll go do that. And then I got a little time in the afternoon just to kind of get back into the important stuff, me. And the phone will ring again. And I'll go through the whole day like that, a self-centered guy by nature, yet I'm taking a position of other-centeredness reoccurringly. And what's happening is I'm out of myself more than I'm into myself. And that is where the real freedom is here. That's a beautiful thing. A beautiful thing. And so I will always have this chronic spiritual condition, this propensity to obsessive self-involvement and concern, but I don't live like that anymore. If I stop doing AA, my old threadbare default position becomes dominant again. I'll just start. Did you ever just try to back away from AA? Watch how you just slip back. Everything starts becoming about you again, doesn't it? When you stop doing service. And what happens to me, if I'm that way long enough, I start getting full of fear, and then I'll eventually implode. I'll be the depressive guy again. And so I get free. And then after I do the night review, the last thing I do is I ask God what corrective measures should be taken and go to sleep because I'm banking on intuitive thought. If you've ever had conflict in your life, maybe with someone at work or some problem, and you're not real sure exactly what to do, you ask God what corrective measures should be taken, you go to sleep, and I'll wake up. There it is. There it is. There it is, right there. Sometimes I'll just get up in the middle of the night, go to the bathroom. There it is. And often it's not what I want to do because it involves amends. I hate amends. I think amends are the nuclear deterrent of the spirit. I mean, there's a lot of stuff in my life that I don't do because I know if that restraint of tongue and pen, I'm big on that because I've learned over the years if you don't do that, you're going to have to come back and make an amends. I'd rather have a root canal than make an amends. I hate amends. So in essence, it's a great deterrent for me. And the only way a guy like me learns that is I have to open my mouth rather than close my mouth and do that enough times and step on your own thing, and then you eventually have to go make it right. So I ask God what corrective measures. And then on awakening, let me think about the 24 hours ahead. And I do that every morning. I sit and I think, what's on my plate? Is there unfinished business from yesterday? Do I need to... What commitments have I made for today? What guys do I sponsor that I need to talk to? What meetings did I promise I would go to? If I didn't promise to go to a meeting, what meeting am I going to go to? What meeting can I go to today? What can I do in service today? What can I do? It says we ask God in our morning meditation what we can do each day for the man who's still sick. What can I do today? How can I be helpful? My friend Clint used to talk about 3 types of prayers. And Clint said, all prayer is good, but there's prayers that are better than others. He said there's the first type of prayer, which is the help me prayer. That's the foxhole prayer. Every alcoholic, even the atheist alcoholics, when they got handcuffs on, may find themselves saying the help me prayer. Then there's a better prayer. It's the give me prayer. It's the serenity prayer is a give me prayer. You're giving God direction. You're saying, God, grant me, take a knee, God, grant me, take a write these down. Grant me the serenity, I want serenity, to accept the things I cannot change. Courage, write that down, God, courage. Give me some courage to change the things I can. And, this is the big one, wisdom. Give me some wisdom. Wisdom to know the difference. It's a give me prayer. It's a grant me prayer. It runs a little contrary to our step 11. We pray only. But it's nothing wrong with that. And then Clint said there's the ultimate prayer is just use me. Without prejudice, just use me. I'm here to serve. I started many years ago praying for a servant's heart. Because I do the actions, but my heart's not always in it. And I'd like to be more enthusiastic about the things I do in AA on the bad days as I am on the good days. And so I try to align myself. Let's take a break and we'll come back and we'll do questions and then step 12. Okay, about 8 minutes.